don't know who Lene Kekua is or where she even lives, but more importantly, Pete, some of the dates we were given don't add up. That's the thing.
Very strange. That's one of the more bizarre parts of this story, is that right now it's just not possible to completely connect all of these dots. That's because the accounts we've been given don't entirely coincide with other evidence that we've come across. Let's take a look at our timeline here as it relates to Te'O. Notre Dame told us last night that Te'O received a phone call on December 6th from a number he recognized as Lene's, with a voice on the other end that he also recognized to be hers. And it was at that time that she told him that she was not really dead.
So December 6th, though, go back to this, because I'm trying to think, where was he December 6th?
He was down in Florida at the College Football Awards attending those, and it was 2 days after December 6th, on December 8th, that Manti Te'O, after hearing this phone call, that Manti Te'O spoke to our own David McCoy, and it was on the 8th, at the Heisman Trophy ceremony, at which time he still referenced his dead girlfriend.
Since I really got, hit with cancer, I don't like cancer at all. Cancer, I lost both my grandparents and my girlfriend to cancer, so.
You hear that, and you think about what we're talking about. That's one discrepancy. There are others.
There are more. Another discrepancy is the decision to keep this quiet as long as he did. On December 26th is when Te'O finally notified head coach Brian Kelly of what he perceived to be going on here. So the question is, why did he call attention to this on the 26th when receiving the phone call almost 3 weeks earlier? That question, of course, was posed last night, and here's the reasoning that Te'O gave Notre Dame behind it.
He wanted to talk to his parents, and he wanted to talk to them in person. He went home for Christmas break. And that's Manti. That's the son he is. He wanted to have that conversation with his parents face-to-face. He wanted to consult with them. He wanted to get their advice, and it was on the basis of that conversation, after having concluded it, that he called us.
And again, that all sounds good, Jennifer, but we know that Te'O and his parents were together in Florida on December 6th, the day he received that phone call. They were again together on December 8th in New York City at the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Yeah, so the question that's still lingering now is, why did it take him so long?
Right,
really.
Right, and at this point, there's only one person who can answer that question. That is Manti Te'O himself.
Yeah, and the other question, why hasn't he talked? Where's he been? Why haven't we heard from him? And when will we?
Well, to this point, he hasn't come forward. There were reports as recently as late this morning that he would do an interview today on ESPN. That is no longer happening. Another ESPN reporter said on Twitter today he's hearing Te'O might talk tomorrow. Again, might, nothing confirmed from his PR company on this or from his representation. So we won't know any answers to any of these questions and be able to connect all these dots until he speaks. And quite frankly, the longer Te'O waits to address this, the more you see this story continuing to spin out of control.
Well, the more questions people have and the more people really want to hear from them. Pete, thanks.
Well, let's talk now about another big discrepancy in this story. Did Manti ever actually meet Lene Kekua in person? Now, his father told the South Bend Tribune they did more than once. But Notre Dame and Manti Te'O says a face-to-face meeting never happened. WSBT's Kelly Skopczynski's been digging deeper into this. Now, Kelly, the Tribune sports writer who interviewed Te'O's parents last October told you that he still has the tape recording from that interview.
That's right. He shared it with his editor, but would not let me listen to it, saying he wants to give the Te'O family time to return his phone calls and emails. One of the first things Eric Hansen did when Deadspin broke this story, though, was go back to that recording to make sure he didn't misquote the star player's father. Eric Hansen's October 13th front-page article in the South Bend Tribune read like a romance novel. Stares pleasantly tangled. Manti extending his hand to a stranger with a warm smile and soulful eyes.
They shook hands. This was an in-person meeting, and that there were subsequent meetings in Hawaii when Manti would go home. Now, again, from listening to the tape, I don't think Brian ever saw her or met her.
Brian Te'O is Manti's dad. He and his wife Otilla sat down with Hansen at a hotel in Mishawaka the day before that article ran.
The thought was, and it's on the tape, that this was going to be Wake Forest weekend, which was later in the season. They were going to meet her, and they even, Brian talked about that this could be our daughter-in-law.
But somehow, the woman Manti appeared to love, then lose to cancer, turned into a hoax. And it's rattled Hansen.
It shakes you up because of all the people that I thought that I could believe and still think that I could believe, Manti Te'O, of all the people I've probably ever interviewed in 30 years, would be close to, if not at top of that list.
He's known the Te'os since Manti was a freshman and interviewed them dozens of times. But now he's torn between a family he's always trusted and reports that say perhaps he shouldn't.
What's real here and what's not? Is Manti a victim? Is somebody else a victim? You know, do I need to do my job differently when I've had multiple sources that I trust confirm things? Do I need to, go get a picture of the corpse?
Hansen says he's called and emailed the Te'os and some other contacts in Hawaii trying to clear all of this up with the family. Rick, I also know Hansen talked with Notre Dame athletic director Jack Swarbrick after last night's press conference and says he was able to close a few of the other loopholes for him.
Yeah, Kelly, Hansen's been a newspaper writer for, 30 years?
Yeah.
Is this going to change the way he does his job?
Well, he told me he thinks this is a good reminder for all journalists to self-examine and ask ourselves tough questions. But right now, he says the tough questions he needs to ask involve getting to the bottom of all this.
Yeah, all right, Kelly, thanks a lot.
A Notre Dame student sports writer is getting a lot of attention today for writing an article saying that some of Te'o's teammates thought something was suspicious about his relationship. Tyler Moorhead says there was a lot of chatter behind the scenes that it seemed odd for Te'o to be calling Kekua the love of his life when the relationship was apparently only taking place online and over the phone. That speculation became quite apparent, Moorhead writes, when Kekua was thought to have died.
Some players believe that he was much overhyping the situation, that he hadn't actually met this girl, and that because of this, he didn't necessarily deserve the overwhelming hype that he was getting for playing through adversity.
Nonetheless, Moorhead says he truly believes Te'o was duped and was legitimately grief-stricken over the loss he thought was real, and we have much more on this developing story on our website, WSBT.com. There are statements from Notre Dame and Manti Te'o, as well as video and pictures. You can also join in on the discussion on our Facebook page about this. We'll also have the very latest developments there throughout the night, and again tonight on WSBT News at 11.